Jai Hind everyone. I am Shraddha Mishra, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. Today, we will be discussing on applications of blockchain in government sector. Unit 5. Let's proceed. So, what is blockchain? In a world where data is gold, blockchain is the vault. Our first topic is application of blockchain for government in digital identity, land records, and other kinds of record keeping between government entities. So, when we talk about blockchain, we think about Bitcoin, which is cryptocurrency. But blockchain is not just restricted to a cryptocurrency. It finds its applications in many government avenues, which is voting, document verification, digital identity, land records, and various other. So, we are going to discuss all of these applications in detail. Next is use case 2, where we are going to discuss public distribution systems, social welfare systems, blockchain cryptography, privacy and security issues on blockchain. So, Unit 5 consists of 2 parts. We are going to discuss these. Now, blockchain for government services. So, here you can see that we have for bills and payment, welfare distribution, digitized IDs, healthcare and so on. First, benefits of blockchain in the government sector. So, let's understand. Modi government is, there's so much hype about let's switch to blockchain, which is less government but more governance. So, how do we switch to that? Now, what is the essence of blockchain? Blockchain means all your data is stored in a block. It can be any kind of information. You want it to be encrypted and to be stored in blockchain forever. So, that can be any data you can't tamper with. When we talk about government, the first thing which comes to our mind is let's get rid of the corruption. So yes, blockchain helps us here with that. Because when you talk about corruption in blockchain, entire data, let's say for example, there is land record. Okay. So you have so many files here in the government, and anybody can influence somebody, pay money, bribe and get the files altered. The manual paperwork. It is very much possible and it's very much convenient to do. What if that data is stored in a block and that data is encrypted and that entire ledger which is stored in that block is shared with all the parties in the network. So, if anyone tries to tamper with anyone's data, everyone in the network will get a notification. So, how nobody can dare to tamper it because they know they have to bribe so many people then to influence it. And also that is practically not feasible because not everybody is in your favor. Some can be opposition parties also. Somebody can be, it's not also practically feasible because a lot of time and energy it will consume, right? So, that's how you can use your blockchain in the government sector. So, increased transparency. Blockchain provides a transparent, immutable ledger, making it easier for citizens to track government transactions. So, it's increased transparency. So, what happens here is, for example, let's say tomorrow government says, okay, and like you have your Aadhaar card data, okay, we all have submitted our Aadhaar card data in one central storage for our Aadhaar card info. So, if at times anybody tries to hack that system or tries to get access to your Aadhaar card collection system, anybody can do that, but you don't want that data to go for the government to sell that data or misuse that data in any form. So, you know that your Aadhaar card data is here in the block, encrypted and also shared with every party. So, even you have the access to your data and you also have that ledger for your data. So, in case anybody tampers with it, you are also notified and it's shared with everybody in the network. So, this way nobody can even tamper with your data, right? So, that is increased transparency. That blockchain provides a transparent, immutable ledger. So, everybody can track. Enhanced security, of course. How often we have heard in voting and the different political parties, they claim that, okay, the system was rigged or, we could have got the better chances. Why? Because they say that the voting system or the machines they had, when we were pressing the button, only BJP's, or let's say any Z party, Congress or any party's thumb was only coming, their notification was only coming when the party we were clicking was a different one. But still the different party was getting reflected there. So, how do you overcome that problem? So, here blockchain comes into play because what it says is, if you have your data or and let's say I go tomorrow to vote and I have an entire voting machine there. I put my vote, and that vote is instantaneously encrypted and shared to everybody in the network. So can I tamper with that data anyway? No, it will be notified. And there are certain countries like US, there is votes. So they are they're trying to adopt these systems also in their blockchain, right? So that is about enhanced security. We are using it in voting, identity management, and different other avenues also we are using blockchain. That is about security. Improved efficiency. Of course, you can see that efficiency will enhance this way, because if your data is stored at one place, anytime you have to fetch your Aadhaar card data, it comes very handy also. Instead of, if there are a lot of paperwork, you want any land record. Let's say there's a land, you want to understand its dispute history, the entire audit trail. So instead of arranging file and you going to that entire dusty hub of the loads of file, and you are trying to pick one file, going to the 1994, this year I want file, it's so difficult to get that, fetch that. But if you are having it in blockchain system, it's just like a digital system, also encrypted. It's not just safe, but it's also very efficient, right? Next, cost saving. It saves you a lot of paperwork, intermediaries, better identity management. Okay, so there are secure digital identities because there is digital signatures also done. Next examples, Estonia uses blockchain for digital ID systems, e-residency and secure online voting, improving both efficiency and security for citizens and the government. So Estonia it's already started using blockchain for the healthcare systems for the digital identity management. Now, IAM. Let's discuss all of these applications in detail. Next is problems in existing identity management systems. So identity authentication management was IAM, right? So let's discuss them in detail. Like I already explained you about the Aadhaar card, your identity, your KYC. So you don't want your Aadhaar card data, your PAN card data per se, any kind of digital or your confidential data to be revealed to a lot of people. But you want it to be there in the central database, of course, because for the national security, it is very much needed that our government has our records, has the authenticity of every citizen is an Indian, right? So what happens in this case is, it serves the purpose of authentication also, and also it keeps a track that your data is not shared with the external parties or nobody is misusing it. For example, let's say, there are some hackers or some, not well-wishers of a country, they want to sell that data to China, let's say tomorrow. So they can't sell their authentic data because it is stored in blockchain. It is very authentic, right? In fact, there's a lot of big data and lot of data you have. It's called actually gold. It's a digital gold for the world. Anybody can sell that data and earn lots of money, right? So every time, when this during this ChatGPT time, when this Ghibli era came, so during that time, people were very much interested to get the Ghibli done, but they were not sure that it's a breach of the privacy also, because they are giving their private data and their photo, everything can be used and misused and sold to different countries for a larger part also. So that's why if it is stored in blockchain, nobody can misuse it. So let's see, centralized control. So in existing identity management, when we say, there were a lot of problems of centralized control, because there is, let's say, this government has a lot of power, so they can also misuse the data of other political parties also, or bring it to the use, or get some favorism or serve their purpose, right? Every time a centralized control leads to a monopoly any which way. So we have to avoid it, get it in a decentralized way where blockchain definitely helps us. Privacy concerns. Users have limited control over the personal data. Information is often shared with multiple organizations, leading to potential misuse and invasion of privacy. So of course, here everybody has privacy issue, right? I don't want that my address, which is there in Aadhaar card, or my PAN card details to be accessible to any third person, right? That is our right to privacy. So here blockchain again helps us. Identity fraud and theft. So existing systems are prone to identity theft, where unauthorized individuals gain access to personal information, causing financial loss and reputation damage. So somebody can misuse your data also. If there is Aadhaar card data, right, they can claim it to be another identity, and maybe it can be used for terrorist purposes also, any unethical purpose also. So you have to always be wary of your documents, right? Be it Aadhaar card, PAN card, we have to keep it very safely. right? So that nobody can misuse it. Next is lack of interoperability. So for example, I have done KYC in one of the bank and I want that when I go to the next bank, I don't have to do KYC again from scratch. So what would I do? I have to start it from beginning? No. What I can do is it will be carry forward, because if it is in the blockchain network, I will make sure that the other bank is also in the same platform and it is interoperable, right? For example, I am working, I have my own bank HSBC, let's say, and it is working on A technology. There is SBI, it is working on a B technology. So if I want to carry it forward, it is definitely not compatible, right? You have certain apps, certain software compatible with iOS, compatible with Android, right? So they're different, okay? That's why here also, if you have to work on a blockchain network among organizations, there has to be some interoperability, some compatibility between them. Only then you can carry forward your work. Inaccurate data, errors in data entry, outdated information or human mistakes can lead to incorrect identity management, causing issues in assessing services or legal documentation, right? So sometimes human error is definitely possible. Maybe there was some spelling mistake, or maybe there were two names with the same surname also, and the land record was registered in some person's name. Tomorrow other person claims it. So there are room for human errors, discrepancy or fraud. So to just get rid of that, blockchain definitely helps us to get rid of inaccurate data. High operational cost. So definitely when you have to get people who are skilled to come into blockchain system, you have to definitely give them KT training, which is also very much time consuming and requires money. So it is definitely expensive, but I believe it's a one-time investment. Once you train your workforce, once people have a hands on it, then definitely it makes life much more secure. Next, now how blockchain helps us in identity management. So enhanced security, increased privacy, decentralized control, improved access to services, reduced fraud, and we have our example of Estonia. So Estonia for its e-residency, right? For example, tomorrow I purchase a flat and I have the documents registered. So it will be stored in blockchain here in Estonia, and digital ID system allowing citizens to securely access government services online while maintaining control over their data, right? So tomorrow, if I sell that flat to some other person, they also have a entire control of it, that okay, this is a legit information because it was stored in blockchain, nobody has tampered with it. So entire audit trail they will have it, how many hands that flat has changed and from whose handover I got the flat, right? So the entire sequence is there. So you can see here that there is land administration blockchain, agricultural bank, farmer can access his using right. Farmer can also access his land data using blockchain. Nobody can misuse the data. Now, role of blockchain in land records. Let's take a very simple example, right? For example, let's say there was a person, let's say Ram. Ram had a piece of land, let's say, which was worth 5 crores. Now, tomorrow there is some political party, they try to influence him and they say this was our land, right? Now, Ram versus system. So, it is not actually possible for him to compete with them. They might claim this was their land. Maybe there was some worker of them who claims that okay, it was his land, and the political party is giving him the backing that okay, this was his land, when actually the land was of Ram. So how do you, maybe let's say Ram doesn't have the resources or time to deal with the courts and prove his case, right? When he very, very fairly knows that this land belongs to him. It's of his hard-earned money. So how does he fight against the system? But when that land information is stored in the blockchain and the entire sequence is mentioned that this land was actually sold to this, let's say, Sham earlier. Before Sham, it was sold to some Ghansham, and now it has got, after this particular sequence, now the land is, in the current scenario, belongs to Ram. So nobody can violate it or argue against it. Why? Because everybody knows that it is legit on blockchain, it can't be influenced. So it is a lot of relief for common people, and it also removes any room for corruption. Secure and immutable records, improve transparency. So all the stakeholders can verify their ownership, they are aware of it, reduce fraud and disputes, right? So land title fraud, disputes, all of these, we know that today within families also people are fighting for the land. Okay, so when it is there in the blockchain, so even the carry forward generations, they are also aware of the histories, and everything is, the distribution of land, property, everything is done in a very fair manner. Faster and cost effective transactions, easy access and transparency for citizens. And example, Sweden and Georgia. So they have already started doing their registries using blockchain. Public distribution system. Okay, so as the name says, right? For example, we know we have ration cards for the poor section or for the reserved sections of people. So, for example, government allocates that, okay, 10 kgs of wheat is going to go per person for these many days. But there are some corrupt officers, they hoard that grain and it doesn't reach the expected set of citizens. So, in that case, what happens is we need blockchain. So, what will blockchain do? So they have, for example, 10 people in that village. There's one officer and there are 10 people. That officer was supposed to distribute that bag of wheat to all the 10 people. But if the officer tries to hoard that grain and it has only reached to the 3 people, okay, so then it will be tracked in blockchain that the 7 other people have not received food grains, right? So in this case, the officer is very sure that let's say there's a bag of wheat, I have a QR in it. When that person receives it, it's done. It's intact in the blockchain network that this person has received your food grain. After that, no officer can tamper. So there's a particular count of people and a count of bags. They are in sync, means entire distribution is fair enough. So even if any officer tries to tamper with the data or tries that let's hoard the data, they cannot do that. So let's understand, public distribution system is a government supported system aimed at distributing essential goods such as food grains to low-income groups at subsidized rates. It's crucial in ensuring food security, particularly in developing countries. So what is its objective? The primary goal of public distribution system is to provide essential commodities like wheat, rice, sugar and kerosene at subsidized prices to ensure food security for the economically weaker sections of society. So what is the mechanism? So we have fair price shops. In every district, there are some shops which are particularly allocated to distribute food grains or their deserved share of food grain and other items to the low income people or the people government has allocated to. So we have fair price shops. These are government regulated outlets where ration card holders receive subsidized goods. Ration cards issued to eligible households to access subsidized goods. Next, what are the key components? Procurement. Procurement means you are procuring it, you are storing it, right? So that is the first process. Government will buy food grain at minimum support price MSP from farmers, right? So if I have to open tomorrow a shop of a stationery, so I will go first to the factory, right? Because I want to be, right? For example, there's a wholesale shop, there's a factory. So from the factory, first, it will be purchased by the wholesaler, and then from the wholesaler, let's say, you purchase stationery. So it will be an expensive cost because again, the price at every stage gets added on. Instead, when you buy the same pen from wholesale, it will be little cheaper, right? So that's what they are saying, that procurement is when government will directly buy food grain from the farmer at the minimum price and providing them incentive from their own way, that food grain can be sold to the farmers at the same price or even lesser price instead of the farmers or the low income people directly buying it at the market price. So they are going to get it at a subsidized price, and all of that price which government quoted and at the price the fair price shops are selling us, both of those price will be stored in blockchain, so nobody can tamper it or influence it. Challenges, leakages. Often, goods are diverted or sold at market prices instead of reaching the intended beneficiaries. Of course, there are a lot of leakages. Like I said, that there was chance of corruption. For example, that entire truck of wheat had to reach, let's say, Amritsar, right now, but instead of going there, it was the truck was diverted, let's say, to Patiala, right, to maybe serve any officer or any politician, but it didn't reach the targeted group of people who actually deserved it, whom it had to help. So in that case, if everything is tracked in blockchain, when the truck left, has it reached, is it distributed, everything is in blockchain, so it will be tracked. Let's say the truck left the factory, there's a QR, it's punched, okay, it's done in the blockchain checkbox, okay, it has left. From our end, government has set the food grains. Now what has to be the other check? That yes, it has reached the fair price shop, farmers have received it. So once it reaches the fair price shop, again a check. Now from fair price shop, has it reached the farmers? So farmers will have some QR code or some approval which they will verify that, okay, I have received the fruit grain, check. So now it's there in the blockchain, all the 3 steps are check, it's fulfilled. That means your data is intact, now nobody can tamper with that data. Challenges, then inefficiency, corruption. Issues in the distribution chain lead to corruption and misallocation. Next is role of technology. So there are GPS tracking, digital databases, they all enhance transparency. So what is the role of blockchain in public distribution system? So like we discussed, it enhances transparency, reduces leakage, improves accountability, efficient tracking and monitoring, cost saving, and for example, Andhra Pradesh in India, it is already using blockchain to track and verify food distribution to beneficiaries, reducing fraud and ensuring food security. So Andhra Pradesh uses blockchain to keep a track of food grains so that everything is done in a very fair and square manner. Now, record keeping. So, records can be in different form. We have a birth certificates, death certificates, Aadhaar card detail, PAN card details. There are so many different documents, right? We have, so everything record. That's the crux of blockchain. It's a block. It is meant to store any kind of data. It is meant to store any kind of record, which can be your transaction, which can be your birth, death certificate, tax records, land title, so that nobody can tamper with tax details, anything. So here in record keeping also blockchain finds its role. For example, there must be some influential people who would try to escape taxes, right? By maybe bribing the officials or by their own maneuvering, but they can't do that. Why? Because when everything, their entire, let's say there's a block, right? You have stored all the tax details. So far from 2011 to here, let's say, whatever tax details they have, you have stored. Every time next year's whichever. So even if they try to tamper with that data or influence, they cannot, because the entire ledger, ledger copy is distributed with every node and they are going to be notified. And again, how blockchain works, the beauty of blockchain, that notification reaches to everybody, it's immutable, it is distributed, ledger technology, so nobody can again tamper with it. So, improve transparency, enhance security, reduce administrative costs. Again, you don't need so many officials to monitor it, right? One official to check whether the other official is not involved in corruption. Is it reaching correct? So, you don't need, so it definitely serves the purpose that less government means less number of manpower needed, but more governance. The purpose of getting the work done for the public to receive the benefits of the government policies should be done. So, those benefits are adhered to and are well served to them, because there is no third party or no malicious intended people in between, because blockchain is very secure here. Enhance security, reduce administrative cost. Faster data retrieval. Blockchain allows for instant access to government records, making it easier for citizens to retrieve necessary documents, reducing waiting times and administrative delays. So, data retrieval is also very fast, because for example, let's say government, okay, it says there was a bomb blast, let's say in one of the city, and they want to know that the Aadhaar details of all the people who were there in that mall. So, it is very easy for them to fetch, because it is there in the central database blockchain. They don't have to go for the papers or the other expanded documentation work. So, it is faster data retrieval. Improved auditability. Auditability means you can audit it. You want to analyze different aspects or you want to fetch some useful data from that. It is very easy here. Example, Estonia uses blockchain for digital identity management and e-government services. Now, next topic is role of blockchain in healthcare. So, electronic health records, blood plasma supply chain, drug traceability, supply chain management, breakthrough in genomics, medical staff credential verification, prescription drug monitoring, IoT security for remote monitoring, blood plasma supply chain. So many applications of blockchain in healthcare. So, we are going to discuss them in detail. For example, if we try to understand it with the help of example, let's say pharmacy. There is Apollo Pharmacy. Now, they are also going to get the entire drugs or the medications from a wholesale factory or a dealer. And so, here what happens is, for example, there is a medicine which is banned in between by the government, but still the supply will reach them, but they don't want that supply for, okay. So, what happens is, I have certain medicine. Let's say Combiflam is banned by the government. Okay, but still the wholesaler has its stock of Combiflam. Now, wholesaler says, I want to clear the stock. He somehow sends it to Apollo Pharmacy. Now, he blames from factory only he got this Combiflam, and it's not, but from factory he got, and now he sold it to Apollo Pharmacy. What Apollo Pharmacy says, it's of no use to me, because it's in current scenario, by the time your medicine has reached my shop, it's of no use to me because government has already banned it. So, what do they do is, it's of no use to them. So, here blockchain comes into play. For example, there are certain medicines, they are of expiry. From the wholesaler, they bought certain medicines. Let's say, the medicine, they sold it to customer, Apollo Pharmacy, and the customer claims the other day this was expiry, or there were some issues with that side effect, it was not the authentic one. So, whom do they blame, right? They don't go back to the wholesaler and blame them. Wholesaler says, okay, it was from the factory, and they keep passing the blame. Again, blockchain comes into place, because from the factory to the wholesaler, every step is tracked. They have a QR on the medicine. It will be tracked. The batch ID, expiry date, everything is tracked. Okay, so the minute that medicine left the factory, it was on this date, and this condition, these salts well intact. Wholesaler here also, and then comes to Apollo Pharmacy, all done. For example, somebody in between has tries to influence or bribe the wholesaler and said that, okay, you please change these salts, and for a certain complexes of Sun Pharma, just change it for maybe a local pharmacy company. They would say that the salts are same, but just the brand we are exchanging. Okay, and they sell it as a fake or counterfeit product to the wholesaler, and wholesaler then supplies it to Apollo Pharmacy. So, it is a big fraud for the customer. So, here you can easily track that. So, it ensures that your entire pharmacy chain is very authentic and it is free of any fraud. So, that was our pharmacy. Now, what about your healthcare or your hospitals? So, for example, there was one person, he met with an accident. Okay, so a stranger helped him rescue him to a hospital. So, now hospital doesn't have any track record of it, any history. They have to connect to his family, his, get the entire medical patient data. Maybe he's allergic to certain medicine, maybe he had some other disease history. So, hospital has to be aware of all that kind of medical history. So, instead of getting and fetching it from different sources, what if his entire medical history was stored in a block? So, in that case, what the person had to do was just the doctor would get his family's consent to access his blockchain and would get the entire patient history, the set of allergies, the medicines, and the kind of doctors he has seen, the kind of hospitals he has seen. So, they have the entire track and he can treat them accordingly. Even if you lose a file out of it, for example, you don't remember, okay, which doctor at what time you saw, it is there in the blockchain. So, it is very safe, because you can, it's not like let's say there's a chain of hospitals, Fortis, Max, so all of them are able to access your history. No, you are giving them access and you can revoke access accordingly to whom, whichever doctor you want to see your medical history. For example, if one of your family relative is there in a hospital, you would always go for a second opinion. Or let's say doctor refers suddenly a patient to other hospital. So, you don't have the time and bandwidth to analyze and for the doctor to understand the entire medical history. So, in this case also blockchain helps you, because your entire data is at one place. It's like one tablet and you just show it to the person, they can have the entire access from the A to the Z, whatever track record was there is well visible to him. So that's how you use it in healthcare. So that is prescription drug monitoring, IoT security for remote monitoring, medical staff credential verification. Again, to be assured that the entire medical staff is an authentic one, they are well qualified. For example, nobody pretends to be a nurse when he is not of that hospital and tries to do some hazardous or some illegal activity. So it prevents the entire system from any kind of malicious intent. So role of blockchain in healthcare: secure patient data, better data sharing, patient control. There are smart contracts which will make sure that the patient himself gives permission that, okay, you can see my data, okay, you can't see my data. This hospital can see my data till this duration. Once I'm treated and out of this hospital, you can't access my data again. Preventing fake medicines, honest clinical trials, faster insurance and billings. Also your insurance claim, for example, you have already done your medical insurance and you are going to a hospital. So in the smart contract, when those conditions are satisfied, automatically your insurance claim will be started and the treatment will begin. Better response for health crisis. It helps in tracking diseases, sharing information globally and managing vaccines or supplies during pandemics. So during pandemic, vaccine supplies, everything was tracked so that the number of count vaccines which are leaving the factory and reaching a state or the government house or the government stock, it is tracked and nobody can again tamper with it. So it has also helped us a lot during corona time. Role of blockchain in health is secure patient data, better data sharing, patient control. Okay. Now, this was all about blockchain, applications of blockchain. Now, there is one more application. So let's just understand where in real life they are used. Is just this a creative or a very far-fetched scenario? Can we really apply it, or is it feasible to apply it in real life? So yes, there are certain countries which are actually using blockchain. So digital identity management, Estonia is using it for tax filing, voting and healthcare. Then for voting system, there is West Virginia, USA. They are using it to test their. So example, West Virginia, USA tested a blockchain based mobile voting app for overseas military personnel to ensure secure and tamper-proof elections. Land and property records. Example, India, Andhra Pradesh and Georgia use blockchain to maintain land ownership records, reducing fraud, disputes and paperwork. Public procurement and contracts. Example, Colombia has piloted blockchain for tracking public contracts to ensure transparency and prevent corruption in government spending. So, public procurement and contract means Colombia is also using it to track public contracts. So, there is no corruption. Next, social welfare and aid distribution. So, for social welfare, we have United Nations World Food Program. In fact, IBM Food Trust is also using blockchain for its food applications to distribute food vouchers to refugees in Jordan, ensuring secure and direct aid delivery. So that the whatever refugees had to get that food help, it's directed towards the concerned and the needed people only. Nobody is misusing or any packet is not going to the undeserved person. Tax collection and management. Example, some governments exploring blockchain to automate tax calculations and collections and reduce tax evasion by tracking transactions in real time. So, tax collection and management means on real time it is being tracked. Nobody can manipulate. Next is supply chain and customs. So, Dubai Customs uses blockchain to track goods and shipments, improving efficiency and reducing fraud in trade and logistics. So, in Dubai also, for its supply chain, we have started using blockchain. So, thank you so much. Hope it helps. Have a wonderful day ahead.